I'm beginning the process of the LCD panel removal. Prepared to get this thing out by removing 2 of the 4 thumb screws, 1 on each side. And I left one here. The bracket that holds the panel to the enclosure. Removed 1, 2, 3, and left one. Left one on this side. Removed 1, 2, and 3. I removed the zip ties that retained the cable running across the back of the panel. And we'll remove this screw as well. The screw has been removed. The screw is not retained within the clip, so I set it aside for storage for reinstall on install of the new display. Disconnection of the attached cables. We discussed this one earlier. Signal cable to the panel connects here. Power on the right hand side, and this one in the back connected there. It's possible that on the on-site board that these will be hot, have like a red glue attached to them, and a heat gun should free that up. Then I just pulled the cables back away from this part that's coming out, which is this bracket. So I just pulled the signal cable back out of the way and took these cables, the power cables, and the camera cable of the camera, which is this one that runs to the front, and just pulled those back out of the way so I could remove this. When I remove these remaining screws, this should be freed up, and then I'm going to drop these two screws back here. I'm going to secure this obviously too, because when these 2 screws come out here, this panel and the bracket should float kind of freely in here. So I'm going to hold it a bit while I release the thumb screws and drop this panel down towards me for removal. And I've started to remove the screws. The one from there is gone. This one remains. And I'm just holding up the bracket with my hand so it doesn't, when this last screw comes out, it doesn't fall. Once I remove the screws we referred to earlier, the screen will kind of want to stick up here. I couldn't do this because I only had one hand. But the screen will kind of want to stick up if you hold a finger here on it like I had in the video earlier. Once you remove the 2 black thumb screws, these 2 brackets will just want to fall down. So you know, I guided them with my hand so they didn't just collapse. Right now it's just resting on those breakers. And I've got the LCD propped up in here because I'm going to remove this rather than release the glue that's holding in the connectors. I'm just going to remove the 2 these 2 screws that are pinning the supposing this is a camera or a light sensor. Those screws are tiny. I had to use a small electronic screwdriver to get them out, and then the camera is just going to be released, hanging free. And that got the panel out. My only thoughts are when you're removing it, you know, obviously you're going to touch it, so you probably want to have to clean this up before it goes back in, because it's going to have fingerprints and anything else that kind of filter down on it while it was being handled. And 2, it's probably best to not do this hanging, because you know, like, you don't want to do this with weight on you or trying to hold things up, because obviously these things are going to fall down. You know, to be able to do it here, I was able to rest them on. You know, I really never put any weight on them either, because I held the LCD up. But these kind of were just resting on top of this metal, and it's nothing but the weight. So there's no risk for anything really getting damaged. Camera or the light sensor. Here's where cables need to be re-engaged once the new one. Power on this side, you know, those would have to be reconnected to the right side. Signal cable, camera or sensor, and this ground bundle coming from the left hand side. These things and those 2. And here's the set of screws that would be remaining. So in total, you'll have removed 4 silver screws, or 4 small screws from the LED bracket in the back that went through these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4 silver screws. The 4 thumb screws that held up the brackets to the back, retained the brackets of the case and swung down. The 2 small screws for the sensor camera, and the 1 screw for the ground for the LCD. So there's your how many screws you'll be removing. 8, 12, 15 screws. A total of 4 to 5 zip ties will be required to complete the installation on the reinstall.